Being alone is where discipline is born. When no one is around to push you, to remind you, or to cheer you on, you are forced to confront the truth about yourself. Motivation fades quickly when it depends on others, but discipline shows up even when you don't feel like it. In solitude, there are no shortcuts and no applause, only choices. You either do the work or you don't. And that decision, repeated every day, is what separates the strong from the average. When you are alone, excuses lose their power. You can't hide behind distractions or blame circumstances. There is no one to rescue you from your responsibilities. This is where habits are exposed. You see clearly how you spend your time, what you prioritize, and what you avoid. Alone time forces honesty. It shows you whether you are committed to your growth or just attached to the idea of success. That honesty can be uncomfortable, but it is necessary because real strength starts with self-awareness. Discipline is not about intensity. It is about consistency. Solitude teaches you that showing up every day matters more than showing up once with passion. When you are alone, you learn to respect small actions. Waking up early when no one is watching, practicing when no one is listening, studying when no one is grading you. These quiet decisions stack up. Over time, they become a system, and that system becomes your lifestyle. This is how ordinary effort turns into extraordinary results. Being alone also removes the need for external validation. When there is no one to praise you, you learn to approve of yourself. You stop chasing attention and start chasing improvement. This shift is powerful. Instead of asking, "Do they see me?" you begin asking, "Am I better than yesterday?" That question builds internal standards, and internal standards are far stronger than public opinions. Once you set them, you don't need permission to work harder or dream bigger. In solitude, you learn to sit with discomfort. There will be moments of boredom, doubt, and fear. Most people run from these feelings by staying busy or surrounded by noise. But when you stay alone long enough, you realize discomfort is not the enemy. It is a signal that growth is happening. Discipline grows when you choose to stay focused despite discomfort. Each time you resist the urge to quit, your mind becomes tougher. Each time you continue without encouragement, your will becomes stronger. Being alone teaches patience. You stop expecting instant results because there is no audience to impress. Progress becomes personal. You learn that mastery takes time and that rushing the process only delays success. Alone, you begin to respect the journey instead of obsessing over the destination. This patience allows discipline to mature. It turns short-term effort into long-term commitment. Solitude also teaches responsibility. When results improve, you know it was your effort. When things fail, you know it was your choices. This ownership is empowering. It removes excuses and replaces them with control. Discipline thrives when you accept that your life is your responsibility. No one else is coming to save you. And that realization, instead of being scary, becomes freeing. Over time, being alone reshapes your identity. You stop seeing discipline as punishment and start seeing it as self-respect. You work not because you are forced to, but because you value who you are becoming. Your actions align with your goals. Your routine reflects your priorities. You no longer need motivation to begin because discipline has already decided for you. When you return to the world, people may not understand your quiet confidence. They may think you changed overnight. They won't see the lonely mornings, the silent struggles, or the moments when quitting felt easier than continuing. But you will know, and that knowledge becomes unshakable strength. Silence has a way of revealing things that noise will never allow you to hear. When you step away from constant conversations, opinions, and distractions, your mind begins to clear. At first, the quiet can feel uncomfortable. Thoughts you've been avoiding rise to the surface. Questions you've been postponing demand answers. But this is exactly where clarity begins. In silence, confusion has nowhere to hide. You start to see your life as it truly is, not as others describe it or as you pretend it to be. Most people are overwhelmed not because life is too hard, but because their minds are too crowded. Everyone is talking, advising, judging, comparing. Silence removes that chaos. When you are alone, you are no longer influenced by the emotional noise of others. You stop reacting and start thinking. Decisions become intentional instead of impulsive. You realize that many of your past mistakes were not due to lack of ability, but lack of clarity. Being alone sharpens your focus. Without constant interruptions, your attention becomes stronger. You learn how to stay with one thought, one goal, one task. This ability is rare in a world addicted to distraction. Focus is a form of power, and solitude trains it. The more time you spend alone with your thoughts, the more control you gain over them. Instead of your mind controlling you, you begin to guide it. Silence also teaches you to listen to yourself. You begin to recognize what truly matters to you, not what is trending or expected. You separate your desires from borrowed dreams. Many people live lives designed by other people's opinions. Solitude breaks that pattern. When no one is influencing you, your true values surface. You start to understand what you are willing to sacrifice for and what you are no longer willing to tolerate. In quiet moments, you gain perspective. Problems that once felt overwhelming begin to shrink. You see that not everything deserves your energy. Silence teaches you discernment. You learn when to act and when to wait, when to speak and when to remain quiet. This wisdom is built slowly through reflection, not reaction. Alone time allows you to step back and see the bigger picture of your life. Clarity also brings courage. Once you know what you want and who you are, fear loses some of its power. Uncertainty is often what scares people the most. Silence removes uncertainty by forcing honesty. You may not like everything you discover, but clarity gives you direction, and direction is more powerful than comfort. It allows you to move forward with confidence, even when the path is difficult. Being alone helps you reset mentally. Your emotions stabilize because you are no longer absorbing everyone else's energy. You stop carrying problems that are not yours. This mental reset is essential for strength. A calm mind makes better decisions. A focused mind wastes less time. A clear mind sees opportunities where others see obstacles. Over time, silence becomes a source of strength rather than something to escape. You begin to value it. You protect it. You understand that clarity is not something you find in the world. It is something you build within yourself. When life becomes loud again, you don't lose yourself because you know how to return to that quiet place where your thoughts are sharp and your purpose is clear. When you move with clarity, your actions change. You walk differently. You speak with intention. You no longer chase everything because you know what matters. Others may call it confidence, but it is simply the result of spending enough time in silence to understand yourself. Being alone strips life down to its essentials. When there is no audience and no reassurance, character is revealed. You discover who you are when no one is clapping, correcting, or watching. In isolation, your values are tested quietly. There are no immediate rewards for doing the right thing and no instant consequences for doing the wrong thing. That space between action and recognition is where character is truly formed. When you are alone, integrity becomes a personal choice rather than a public performance. You do the right thing not because someone might see you, but because you respect yourself. This kind of integrity is strong because it does not depend on approval. It becomes part of who you are, not something you switch on when convenient. Over time, these small, private decisions shape your reputation, even if no one notices them in the moment. Solitude also forces consistency. Without external pressure, you learn whether you can be trusted by yourself. Promises made in private are the hardest to keep, yet they are the most important. When you say you will improve, study, train, or grow, no one is there to remind you. Each day becomes a test of commitment. Every time you follow through, your self-trust grows. And self-trust is a powerful form of confidence. Character is built when temptation is present, but discipline is stronger. Alone, you face distractions head on. You can choose comfort, or you can choose growth. You can delay responsibility, or you can act with purpose. These moments may seem small, but they accumulate. Over time, they define the kind of person you become. Strong character is not created in dramatic moments. It is built in quiet choices repeated daily. Isolation also teaches emotional control. When no one is there to absorb your frustration or validate your anger, you learn to manage it yourself. You sit with your emotions instead of reacting immediately. This builds maturity. You stop letting temporary feelings dictate permanent decisions. Emotional discipline becomes part of your character, allowing you to stay calm under pressure and steady in uncertainty. Being alone teaches you humility as well. You realize how much there is still to learn and how much work remains. Without praise, ego has nothing to feed on. You begin to measure progress honestly rather than exaggerating it. Humility keeps you grounded and open to improvement. It allows character to grow without arrogance. As time passes, solitude strengthens your moral compass. You become less influenced by trends and more guided by principles. You no longer adjust your values to fit the room you are in. Whether people agree or not, you remain consistent. This stability is rare and powerful. It makes you dependable, not just in success, but in struggle. When life eventually puts you in difficult situations, the character built in isolation shows up. You don't panic under pressure because you've already faced yourself in silence. You don't compromise easily because you've practiced integrity without witnesses. Others may admire your strength, but they won't see the lonely moments that created it. Still, those moments live within you, shaping every decision you make and every path you choose. When you learn to stand on your own, something powerful happens inside you. You stop needing constant reassurance from the outside world. Independence begins in the mind long before it shows up in your actions. Being alone forces you to rely on your own judgment, your own effort, and your own resilience. Without someone to lean on, you discover that you are capable of far more than you once believed. At first, independence can feel uncomfortable. You may doubt your decisions or fear making mistakes, but this discomfort is part of the process. Each choice you make alone strengthens your confidence. You begin to trust your instincts because they are tested by real consequences. When things go right, you know it was your ability. When things go wrong, you learn instead of blaming others. This accountability builds mental toughness. Being alone teaches you how to solve problems independently. Instead of waiting for advice or approval, you take initiative. You analyze situations, weigh options, and act. Over time, this sharpens your thinking. You become less reactive and more strategic. Confidence grows not from knowing everything, but from knowing you can figure things out when challenges appear. Independence also frees you from the fear of rejection. When you no longer depend on others for validation, their opinions lose control over you. You stop adjusting yourself to be accepted. You stop shrinking your dreams to fit someone else's comfort. This freedom creates quiet confidence. You move through life with self-respect because your worth is no longer negotiable. Solitude strengthens emotional independence as well. You learn how to self-regulate your emotions instead of expecting others to do it for you. You find ways to motivate yourself when you feel low and to calm yourself when you feel overwhelmed. This emotional balance makes you steady. People may notice that you don't panic easily or seek attention during difficult times. That steadiness comes from learning how to be alone without falling apart. As independence grows, so does self-belief. You begin to recognize patterns in your growth. You see how far you've come without constant support. This awareness reinforces your confidence. You walk differently, speak more clearly, and make decisions with certainty. Not because you are arrogant, but because you are grounded in experience. Being alone also teaches you boundaries. You become selective with your energy and time. You no longer allow unnecessary distractions or draining relationships to control your focus. Independence teaches you that protecting your peace is not selfish, it is necessary. This clarity helps you build healthier connections when you do choose to engage with others. Eventually, independence becomes your strength. You are not afraid of solitude, failure, or uncertainty. You know that even if everything falls apart, you can rebuild. That belief makes you unshakable. Others may mistake your confidence for luck or talent, but it was forged in moments when you had no one to rely on but yourself. Being alone did not weaken you, it refined you. In the silence, you learned discipline when no one was watching, clarity when the world was loud, character when shortcuts were available, and confidence when support was absent. Every quiet choice, every moment of self-reliance, and every act of integrity built a strength that cannot be taken from you. You no longer fear isolation because you understand its purpose. It shaped your mindset, sharpened your focus, and anchored your identity. When you stand today, you stand complete, steady, self-aware, and unbreakable, knowing that the strongest version of you was built when you learned how to stand alone.